You know how it is. Some people, when they get hurt or really upset, they don't argue, they don't shout, they just stop talking. And if you're on the other side of that, that silence can feel so cold, right? It's confusing, and you might even think it's some kind of manipulation.
But what is really going on behind that wall of silence? Well, here's the thing. Most people who go quiet when they're upset aren't trying to punish you. They're actually responding to this intense emotional overwhelm in the only way their brain knows how to feel safe. Their whole energy shifts, the walls go up, and they just retreat into a space where it feels like nobody can reach them.
So let's really break down this whole perception versus reality thing. On the one hand, we see it as the silent treatment, right? A form of control or punishment. But the psychological truth is that for the person who's gone quiet, it's usually a safety mechanism. It's an involuntary response to feeling completely and totally flooded with emotion.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. If this is you, or maybe someone you love, you know the silence isn't empty at all. In fact, it is incredibly loud inside. So today, we're going to decode the real psychology behind why some of the most deeply feeling people are often the ones who go the most silent.
Okay, so where does this behavior even come from? Well, the foundation for it is often found right in our own nervous system. To really get it, we need to explore the psychological framework and a really fascinating idea called the freeze response. We've all heard of fight or flight, of course, but psychology shows us there's a third option that some of us naturally default to. We freeze. When emotions get way too intense, the body literally tenses up, the mind can go completely blank, and trying to find the right words feels physically impossible. At that moment, being silent isn't a conscious choice. It's a full-on physiological shutdown. You can almost think of it like this. It's a built-in reset button. Your brain has basically decided that the situation is no longer safe for you to communicate, so it just shuts things down to protect you from that emotional overload and help you get back some tiny bit of control. So now that we kind of get the biological what, the freeze response, let's dig into the psychological why. We're going to break down the 5 deep core reasons that drive someone to go silent. Yep, there are 5 key reasons, and they often build on each other. Let's just walk through them one by one. So here's where we're headed. First, it was a learned survival skill. Second, you actually fear the power of your own words. Third, you don't believe you'll be understood anyway. Fourth, you're trying to protect others. And finally, you just need silence to process all the noise. All right, let's start with number 1. For so many people, this whole response started a long time ago. It became a learned survival skill. Think about it. Maybe as a kid, you learned that expressing your feelings didn't actually lead to comfort. Maybe you were told you were overreacting or being too sensitive when you spoke up. Or worse, maybe opening up just made the conflict escalate. Over and over, your brain learned to connect expressing emotion with danger or disappointment. So silence became the only safer option. And now, as an adult, your mind just defaults to that old pattern. Okay, the second reason is a big one. You go silent because you're actually afraid of the power of your own words. See, people who go silent are often hyper-aware of just how much words can hurt. You know that in the heat of the moment, you can say something you can never, ever take back. So instead of risking saying something irreversible that could damage the relationship, you choose to say nothing. In your head, staying quiet is actually a form of self-control. And that leads us right into reason number 3, which is often built on a long history of not being heard. You simply don't believe that you'll be understood. A huge reason people shut down is this deep-seated lack of trust that their explanation will even matter. Maybe you've tried to explain yourself a million times in the past, only to be hit with judgment, or you're talking to a partner who only listens to reply instead of actually trying to understand. When all that effort leads to zero change, your brain just goes, "What's the point?" and sees communication as wasted energy. Silence becomes a shield. Now, our 4th point is a little bit of a paradox. You go silent because you're trying to protect other people from what you see as your burden. Yeah, there's often this deep fear that your feelings are just too heavy or too inconvenient for everyone else. You start to worry about creating drama or ruining somebody else's mood if you show them how truly upset you are. So you convince yourself that staying quiet is the kinder choice, and you handle the entire storm internally. You end up becoming the person who comforts everybody else, but you process your own pain in total silence. And that brings us to our 5th and final reason. Sometimes you just need the silence to process all of the overwhelming noise, both inside and out.
You know, if you're someone who processes things really deeply, confrontation can feel like trying to run 10 different apps at the same time on a phone with like 2% battery. It's just too much. When you get upset, you have to turn inward to make sense of all the chaos. You're not trying to avoid the problem, you're just trying to recalibrate your nervous system so you can start to function again.
So, after hearing all of that, if you relate to any of these experiences, I really want to be perfectly clear about something. You are not broken.
No, really, let that sink in for a second. Nothing about you is broken. Your silence isn't a sign that you're cold. It's a learned response from a time when using your voice wasn't enough to keep you safe. Now, the flip side is that while silence can give you some temporary relief, it can also lead to this really quiet kind of loneliness, where you feel completely unseen even when someone is sitting right next to you.
So, how do we bridge that gap? For this last part, let's talk about what someone who goes silent really needs from the people around them.
If you're someone who loves a person who goes silent, what they need from you isn't pressure. It's not confrontation. It's safety. It's patience. It's letting them know, hey, you can talk to me when you're ready and I won't judge you. That right there is how you bridge the gap.
And that really brings us to the core question. If anything in this explainer made you feel seen today, let us know down in the comments. Do you find yourself going silent to protect yourself, or do you do it to protect the people you love? Your story really matters, and sharing it helps all of us understand each other on a much deeper level. Thanks for joining me.